So, here we have the TF1230 again. 68 or 30, 51.8 megahertz is showing. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but it's close enough. Half as fast as an 4040 at 25 megahertz, as said before. So, if I check drives and I do drive speed, if I select a drive, let's do DHO, which is an SD card, do a speed test. Come on, do a speed test. So, be about 2 meg. There we go, 2 meg. Now, this, I believe, is with MU FastROM loaded. So if we quit from that, I didn't need to do a new CLI for this, but anyway. So, let's have a look. Load module, SCSI device reverse. Yeah. Well, I'm using Kickstart 3.1, but I tried it and it didn't work, so maybe my custom ROM has an updated SCSI device. Actually, that's a good question. SCSI device 46. Whoa. Okay. I wasn't expecting that. Cool. That's why it's not patching. Right, so we can ignore that line. So, set patch quiet. Yep, that needs to run before MU FastROM. Disable MU FastROM, simply prefixing that the semicolon will do. Press escape, press X, press enter. That saves the document and closes it, so we know how to use startup sequence. So, if MU FastROM makes all the difference, when I next run sysinfo and next run a speed test on the drive, it's going to be slower. Makes sense, doesn't it? So let's see. Now this time it doesn't say megahertz, almost as if it hasn't loaded a necessary library. DHO. So we got over 2 meg last time. Okay, it wasn't 2048, but it was over 2 million bytes per second. 1.791416. So TF1230 card running an SD card on the Amiga's IDE port without MU FastROM, 1.79 megabytes per second. Okay. And if we enable FastROM, and rerun the test, it's still not showing megahertz. Very flaky this sysinfo. Drives, DHO, speed. This should be 2 meg again. Yeah, 2086, so it is over 2 megabytes per second. So, 1.79 megabytes per second without MU FastROM, 2 megabytes per second with MU FastROM. So it's faster with MU FastROM. Now this time I'm going to do the same test, but we'll do it with the card on the TF1230. So, find my SD to ID my spare one. Right. Okay, so pin 1. You may gather by now that this computer spends a lot of time with the lid off. It's the way I like it, to be honest. Right, so now, full disclosure, I have had some issues with using SD cards on the TF1230 from looking into that, doing some googling. Exos Host Forum had a post or two that suggested shortening the IDE cable. I tried that, it didn't fix it. So it can hang intermittently without warning. So bear with me a second. EHID device. This should be more than 2 megaseconds if it doesn't crash. I expect it's going to hang before it completes. Whoa, 3 meg. Cool. So TF1230 with MU FastROM, 3 megasecond. TF1230 without MU FastROM. This should be slower. Probably what? Same as the internal Amiga IDE? Ooh, look at that. 1.76. So without MU FastROM loaded, the IDE on the TF1230 runs at the same speed as the IDE on an Amiga 1200 with the TF1230 connected without MU FastROM running. Clearly MU FastROM makes a much bigger difference to the SD card that's on the TF1230 than it does to the SD card that's on the Amiga. So we haven't got MU FastROM running. Let's do another test. So this is my TF1260, and now let's do this in the correct order. So correct order would be Amiga 1200 IDE, but with TF1260 connected. See if I can do this easily enough. Give me a nice change if I could. I do find this a little bit tricky, awkward, and it makes me unhappy. Go. Right, so TF1230, TF1260. This is one of the things with the Amiga 1200 that I am not very keen on. Trying to slot accelerator cards onto this edge connector, it doesn't fill me with joy. It really doesn't, because with the TF1260, as you can see, I've had to tilt it down slightly and push the board up. There's no screw in this part of the board. The board needs to come up away from the case and the card needs to go on a slight angle because this connector, I think, is just slightly thicker than the one on the 1230. I'm really not having much fun with this. So there we go. That sounds like it's in. Okay, TF1230 is in. Keyboard is resting there. So, test number one. Sorry, TF1260 is in. Test number one. TF1260 with a Microsoft. Oh, I'm going to redo this whole video. With a Motorola MC68 LC060 at 50 MHz, not overclocked. A 32 gig SD card on the internal Amiga 1200 IDE, which may have crashed because I would have expected to get to Workbench. Oh, no, there we go. Of course it's slower because MU FastROM isn't loaded. Right. TF1260 drive speed. except this time the SD card's on the Amiga 1200 IDE, it's just we've got the TF1260 for power. So, let's see. Can we do a speed test? It should be more than 1.7 meg, because I mean, it's an 060 instead of an 030. It's slower. This is one of the things I found quite interesting when I first got the TF1260, and one of the reasons I stuck to the TF1230 for a while was because I didn't know about MU FastROM. And I mean, talk about a noob error. So the TF1260 uses the Amiga's internal IDE more slowly than the TF1230 does, by about 320 kilobytes per second. So what happens if we test the TF1260 IDE controller, the one that uses the IDE device? Let's have a look. And this is another thing I hate. These, I don't hate them, I find them tricky. These 44-way IDE headers, I do find them very tricky. Must be getting old. I think I've toasted something. If I have, it's probably my 1260. On the other hand, I could be lucky. Or I could be very unlucky. Right, so TF1260 is in place. That's the first check. IDE adapter is pulled. That's the second check. Power. Nothing. This makes me nervous. So, let's have a look. Right, let's have a smell. And let's see if the Amiga will switch on without the TF in it. This does not look good. This looks like dead Amiga. That would be disappointing. Taking ages. Could be a good sign. It is a good sign. My Amiga power supply just died. This one only arrived, what, yesterday? Very interesting. So, this time I'll fit the fucking IDE. Pardon my French. Oh, demonetised. Well, not monetised anyway, and I don't care about that. I don't do it for money. I do it because I like. I think like's too weak a word. I really love having fun, and that means problems a lot of the time. My Amiga 1200. There is no better computer for experiencing problems. By which I mean, if you're going to experience problems with a computer, it being an Amiga 1200 is probably best. But look how accessible everything is. Look how easy it is to get inside. Look how quickly you can think you've toasted your Amiga 1200, and before you know it, it's just the power supply's failed, but it smells as well now. Yeah, it's a bit smelly. Well, I've got to be honest, it smells more like the PlayStation 2 did than it does smell like the last failing power supply smelled. Are you going to boot or what? Good. TF1230. Really nice card, this. Got it from Retro Passion UK, the 128 meg version. Really happy with it. I mean, you know, it's about as black as you can get. So, that's good, for starters. Okay, it's an RC50B. Don't care, seems to work fine. I don't think I've ever used anywhere near 128 meg though. I think I tried filling it once, just with archives, just to see if I could and if it would crack or not. One way to test the RAM. So, TF1230, love that card. TF1260, is the TF1260 working? I have a 68060. Cool. DHO. Speed. Even slower. I'm going to run that again, I don't trust that. So, with an SD card on an SD to IDE on the Amiga 1200's internal IDE controller, the TF1230 is faster than the TF1260 if you have not got MU FastROM or some other application to move a copy of ROM into RAM and then use the MMU to point the system at it. The TF1230 is faster than the TF1260. Similarly, the IDE connector on the TF1260, if you do not have MU FastROM loaded, is slower than the IDE connector on the TF1230 if you do not have MU FastROM loaded. So on this metric, the TF1230 wins. Now then, if you enable MU FastROM, the situation will be a little bit different. Seemed a bit sprightly. Dear Joe, I'm not going to bother testing the onboard. 4.2 meg. That is the difference of MU FastROM. And that's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it.